Thank you, Matt. I am fortunate each and every day to work for a nonprofit organization with a mission to improve teacher diversity and the retention of teachers of color in Washington State. And when you have an organization with a mission like that, the first question that always comes up is why? What's the need? What's the need not only in your state, but what's the need in education? What's the need across this country? And I think a more collaborative question to ask is not the why, but what if our teachers looked more like our students? But let's talk about the need. Let's talk about of the 3.3 million teachers in the United States, only 17% are teachers of color. 17%. Compare that to the 50 million students in our public schools today. 48% are students of color, making it very unlikely that they will have a teacher of color at some time in their K-12 academic career. So that's the need. When we talk about a question like what if our teachers look more like our students, you're also talking about addressing the academic achievement gap in our country, and that's the disparity of our white students graduating high school compared to our students of color. When you have 1/3 of your Latino students, Hispanic students not graduating high school, 1/3 of your African American students, and less than 60% of your Native American students, that's not an educational issue, that's a social justice and civil rights issue. So our job is to figure out at the Martinez Foundation how we can address this need. Because each and every time you talk to one of our students who drops out of school, they said, I never had an opportunity to have a teacher of color. A teacher did not look like me ever when I was in school. And that can make a huge impact on a student. Because you look at the statistics, and the statistics are very telling that every 28 seconds a student drops out of school. That'll be 16 students dropping out of school by the time I finish my presentation today. That'll be 7,000 dropping out by the end of the day. And that's why we exist. So many students say, I didn't value education until I had that one teacher I could connect with. I didn't value education or feel accepted in education until I can relate to a teacher. Because students need to have the ability to relate to teachers culturally. They need to have teachers that look like them. And we need to have teachers for them that represent the world we are preparing them for. Communities of color are our fastest growing segment of the population in the United States. And this is providing an unbelievable opportunity to recruit the next wave of teacher leaders to meet the needs of all students. But we have to make sure that we're setting all of our teachers up to succeed. And we have to make sure that we're using research practices to make sure that their success is something that's going to benefit all students. So what do we have to include? We have to include opportunities for ongoing professional development. Our teacher education programs today have become accelerated. They're one-year programs. And there's so much you can get into a one-year program to prepare you for the challenge that is being a teacher today in our public schools. So you have to have ongoing professional development. You have to have things where you get together and come up with actionable practices that you can do after professional development training and have them in your class the very next day. You have to have things like peer-to-peer mentoring, opportunities to model each other's instructional practice, opportunities to talk about challenges, opportunities to work together. When you talk about one of the most important things that we discovered in doing this, it's that community of support. Because if you're going to be a teacher of color in the United States, you might be one of only a couple of teachers in your building, or you might be the only one in your building. And if you don't have a collaborative space to address challenges, to talk about needs, then that's where you look at problems with retention with teachers today. We have to have that support system in place to work together to overcome the challenges that we are facing in education. And it's got to be more than just professional development. It's got to be more than just mentoring. It's got to be more than just opportunities to get together and address challenges, because you have to work together. You have to find partnerships that work. You have to work with the university systems, not just on access to education through scholarships and grants, but partnerships that make a difference. Are those universities practicing and valuing culturally responsive pedagogy? Are they realizing how they have to reach out to all students through instructional practice? Are they finding ways to make sure college is accessible? Are there services on those campuses for those students who are first generation in college? If you're able to do this, if you're able to come together and work in a way that's collaborative, if you're able to listen to each other and have those conversations that are going to be tough conversations, especially when they stem around race and diversity, then I think you're looking at an opportunity to ask a different question. And that question is, what if we change the face of education together? And that'll make the difference with our students. That'll narrow the academic achievement gap. And that's a way to know that you're reaching all students and not leaving anybody behind. Thank you very much.